Hello, web design students. This is Professor Murphy, and today I'm going to take you through Adobe Experience Design. And if you're a PC user currently, Experience Design is not available, so um, I will have other links for you to use and make a brief tutorial on how to use another product. All right. But for those of you with a Mac and just a PC user, just so you're aware, the Experience Design will be coming out with a new version that's PC compatible in the upcoming months. But for now, this is going to be a Mac tutorial. So the first thing is first is you got to download Experience Design, and like any other Creative Cloud program, it's going to be here in your Creative Cloud application. And just scroll down and basically download Experience Design, and you're good to go. All right, and when I take a quick tour of Experience Design, I open this up. It presents like any other screen. It's going to give you different devices to select from the start, or you can. It gives you the ability to check out what iOS kits look like, Google Material Kits, Windows. And we'll talk more about this. Um, but what I'm going to do first is, because we're going to be building a website, I'm going to change this web to 1280 so it fits on my browser a little bit better. And as you can see here, and this is going to be the first part of this tour I'm going to take is basically about the interface and the program. Um, should look pretty familiar. I mean, this is what Adobe is going for now in terms of the way their products look and the look and feel. It's a little different. It's a little more stripped down than probably what you're used to if you've used Illustrator or Photoshop before. But this essentially is an artboard. Where it says Web 1280, and that means that it's a web desktop size, and it's going to be 1280 pixels wide. And what it also does is it gives you the ability to make um, your artboard even longer. And what's nice is that it gives you actually where the viewport size ends. So this is what is going to show on screen and basically what gets cut off. So it gives you, that's why that dotted line is there. And so you can change the dimension of these any which way you want. Okay, but you don't have to necessarily make different sizes. They have a lot of great presets. So say for instance I wanted to get a iPhone size. If I click this tool here, which is the artboard tool, it gives you me these selections down on the right hand side here in my palette over here, and I can now select between iPhone SE to 6 Plus, as well as iPad Pro and other devices like Android and Microsoft and other websites too. So again, so if let's say I pick the iPhone 6, there we go. All right, it gives us that size, and so a really handy feature. And again, it functions the same way as what I showed you before. If I make this bigger, it's going to show you where the viewport ends. All right, so I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to come back over here, and it gives you pretty much your basic tools. Here's an arrow tool to drag and move things around. A box tool, simple enough, make boxes. Here we have a circle, an ellipse, so there we go. Um, and a line tool, all the good stuff. Even has a pen tool, and you're all familiar with that, as well as a text tool. And like anything else, you can just click and drag a box out and it makes a box, or you can just click once and it'll make a single line of copy. And then as anything else, you have your zoom tools. Just a quick note, if you hit command 1, it will, so command, if you hit command on a Mac and then the number 1, it will give it to you actual size. If you hit command 0, it will put the artboard in full view. So just two really handy tricks. Command 1 to view actual size, and this is what it would be on a website. This would be, what you see on your screen is what it would actually look like. And then command 0 to show you the whole artboard. All right, so if I take my the technical, this is my select tool, And let's say I select this ellipse, and I decide to say, okay, I can change the border size of this, so I can increase the width on it, and I could, change the color and all that good stuff. Um, Again, it's like any other tool. You can make shapes, you can make funky things out of it, whatever you need to do, and yeah, it all works. It all has these fill border. Every time you click on something, this will change. I'm not trying to select all these. It's going a little haywire right now. Let me delete that. And so if I select, say, this stroke here, I can also add a fill. So right now it's white. Let's make it a color. It's this red. And if I zoom in here, I can then put a drop shadow on it if I wanted to. If I come over here, these palettes are pretty robust. So if you can, here the alpha is this A stands for alpha, which is another way of saying opacity. So here, what I can do is I can make this like 85%. As you can see, it gives you this deeper, more nasty drop shadow. If I go down to 50, we're getting a little better, but I'm going to go back to about 15%, maybe 25. Gives it a little bit more of an edge there. And then again, you can change the hexadecimal hex of the color, so we can make this drop shadow a different color if we wanted to. Let's pump it up so you can see what that looks like. So there's 75. So I actually picked another one of these red colors, and then again, you can get a little funky with this. So let's go back to black. With that being said, believe it or not, this is a new feature they just added in last month. And one of the cool things about this program is that although it can feel rather incomplete at times, Adobe gives you a lot of hope that there's always going to be changes every month. And every month they have new things they're coming out with. So, right now, the great thing is it's giving you the ability to change a solid color into a gradient. So now you can mess with these gradient palette tools and so forth and play with those a little bit. So that's a great thing. Now, some things I'm going to full disclosure what it is missing. It'd be great if there was an ability to have layers, something they're working on right now, and hopefully that will happen. The other thing too will be to be able to add guides. They are still working that too. I believe there is a ruler. No, I totally misspoke too soon. There's shows an artboard grid which gives you a nice pixeled grid here, which is great. But no guides. You have to make them, and I'm going to show you how you can do that. Well, actually, I'm going to give you a link so you can watch a video to do that with. But another gentleman made a nice video on how to actually make all these grids and guides and do it manually. So I'll let him take it away there. So that will be attached to the video that you're seeing now, and or this YouTube link. And I will actually get into more how you wireframe and how you prototype. All right. So I'm going to go cut away to a file I already worked on based off of that tutorial that's in the link. And so let me go over there real quick. Bear with me here. All right. And GCU. Down my rabbit hole, and here we are. I'm going to open this gridXD file. All right. So essentially, the grid that you just made because you watched the other video and you made that link. So this will give us the ability to put shapes on top of it, have some sort of sense of where placement is, and also make more accurate decisions about layout. And one of the things about this is there is no snapping to these points right now. So I got to do a better job of just guesstimating that this is 560 pixels wide, and it probably is not. It's probably a little bit less. And hold on. Let's get this right. Actually, this could be moved in a little bit. Oh. There we go. Now that's better. And this is a little off, and it looks like it's actually 558 pixels wide. is that box. Keep moving it. All right. So the purpose of having that is so that again, you can build structure and form. Um, I'm going to keep this a little loose for this demo, and again, there is, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 column grid, and I'm what I'm going to do here is that's now that 12 column grid, I believe is, let's see here, looks a little bit, it's a little bit bigger than 960, which is totally fine. And what I'm doing here with with that grid is that's kind of like my base. I'm just making sure that, if I look at the actual size of this document, and let's say I go to preview, okay, and I'll show you preview mode, don't worry. Here it is in my web browser. As you can see, I got plenty of room on the left and the right, which is great. And here I am on a MacBook 15-inch screen. So even if it gets a little smaller, we'll still be okay with this dimension size. So let me get back out of that. Now what I'm going to do is go back into here, into the onto the stage, and I'm going to just start making essentially just like a basic web layout. So what I'm going to do is, again, and we're wireframing, okay? So we're not necessarily getting into the nitty gritty of design here, right? We're not doing comps. And so what I'm trying to plan, I'm just trying to plan structure, information architecture, so like what elements and content is going to go where. And so, again, so say that I want this to be a hero, and I'm going to make this really stereotypical. So this is going to be a, well, let's see here, we got a lock on somewhere. That did not work, right? And this over here is going to be a navigation bar, so let's make that. And I'm going to start thinking about, certain dimensions. Maybe I'll think, oh, maybe this would be about 75 pixels high here, and then when I select it, I'm going to make it so that the fill is actually a little less intense and so on. And one thing that I can do here is actually I could start making some predefined colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all black, add that. I'm going to make then a deeper gray, and we'll add that one, and then we'll make another gray that's a little bit lighter. There we go. And then let's see here. Then I think I skipped one technically. Yeah, I totally did. And then we had 333 CC. Okay, then we got let's see here, CCC. Great. And there I got nice little gray color tones that are going on there. And those are all web safe colors. So you play that on anything, you're going to be fine. There's no all monitors will pretty much be able to recognize those grayscale colors right there. Okay, so I want to keep this 75. I'm only going to have a fill on it, and then I'm thinking, okay, well, let me add in here some sort of let me put in some text to basically say this is going to be a logo. Simple enough, right? Your fonts don't really matter for now. I mean, again, this is a wireframe. I've gone a little bit more fancy because of this program, and actually have put more fonts I'm generally going to use. But again, you don't have to. You can keep it with like the generic font, whatever it's going to be. Right now, I have mine set for Helvetica New, and that is totally fine. And I'll probably just change this to a white, and maybe just make it bold because it's going to be a logo. Actually, don't get too crazy with all this. I'm probably just gonna make it all caps. There we go. Okay, so look at my logo there, and I'm gonna say that this site has got 3 buttons to it, and again, I'm just trying to do this as fast as possible, but keep it as clean as possible too. So this site's gonna have an about page. And let's center this so it's in the middle and makes it easier for me to drag these boxes out and so forth. And this is going to be the Let's say we'll call this one products. Not very creative. And then the next one's going to be contact. All right. So one thing, nice thing that Adobe started to do is you see those pink lines that say, right now it says 30 and 34. What's great about that is it's actually, giving us some measurements, and it snaps, which is really great. But and right now the way I'm having this currently layout is that the nav is all the way to the left and the right. And so right now I'm not too worried about where the grid is, and I just want these to be even. And then as I come in here, I'm thinking, okay, well, let me add in a hero element. And so here I have my hero, and maybe what I want is that this hero is the full page. And so I'm going to bring it down here to the viewport, where that ends. And this way, if there's the developer, I could basically tell them, like, I want this to be full width, and make it when it loads on the browser to be full width. With that being said, I might want to maybe make this bar up here translucent, so I'm going to want to have my image all the way to the top. And because I'm doing a wireframe here, we could always modify this box too, so it's a little bit more representational. Maybe we do where it feels more solid. We could do a color like that, so that's what that would accomplish. All right, then as the user scrolls down, I want to actually use this site more like a portal. So I'm gonna give little snippets of about, products, and contact. So again, what I'll do is I'm going to drag out a text box here, line it up with my grid, and I'm going to type in about. And we'll center that, and I'm going to make that 36. It's going to be, again, more of a headline, and make that a little smaller. Again, I could always mess with some of the fonts and stuff like that. So this is going to be the about section. And on the about section, I'm probably going to keep it pretty simple and just a little blurb about the company or something like that. I might use a circle to like highlight the owner or someone that works there. And that is not a circle yet. Let's make that a circle. There we go, 350 by 350. Actually, let's pump it up a little bit. Let's make it even with our guides. 360 by 360. And I'm going to just color that one as well. There we go. So maybe I start to get into what I start to do now is start to create a language where this color happens to represent image. And this about can become a little darker, so I know that it's more impactful. I rarely ever use straight up black, but you can do it. It's totally fine. So this is going to be an about section, and maybe what I do here is I put another text box over here, and I'm going to talk about the owner. And so this would be a great time to bring in some lorem ipsum. So let's go grab some. I wish the program had a button where you could click lorem ipsum. So the easiest way I know how to do it now is just go to lorem ipsum, Google lorem ipsum, and just go to ipsum.com. And we're just going to do one paragraph, generate, and there we go. There's our paragraph body copy. Alright, let's drag that back out again. I'll make this a little smaller. I'll probably center this. This is quite a bit of text, so I'm going to delete some of it. And let me come back into here. And so right now it's set for 20. Which honestly on my screen doesn't look too bad, especially for this kind of what we're doing here with this kind of site. I can try experimenting with different sizes. 18 is pretty good as well. I'm getting a good amount of words on a single line, but maybe we'll increase the line spacing. And so I'm going to go up 10 to 32, get a little bit more spacing, more breathing room, but that looks pretty good. And again, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Again, I'm just trying to get a feel for how I want this thing to be laid out. And the next thing I'm going to do is make the a subhead here. So I'm going to call this subhead. That's how create. Now let's actually give it one about the owner. That's kind of not creative, but that's fine. The owner, and I'll bold this so I know it's a bit more important, and maybe change. Let's change the color too. All right, it's a little darker, and this box can be shortened up. Now, normally I don't like doing this when it comes to layout. If I think of InDesign, I would never really make these kind of boxes and so on. But to be honest with you, when you get into stuff like this, it's actually not a bad system to get into because it treats it like it's programming in a way. Because if yours is programming, this would be, say, an H3 or 4, and then this would be a P tag and a paragraph tag. So, and those things would be treated as separate elements. They wouldn't be in the same box necessarily. So that makes a lot of sense actually to do it this way and to keep it separate. I'm actually going to move this over here and make it a little bit more narrow, I think, and go to about that width. And actually, I think I liked it back the other way better. This is always the danger of it, is that you start to get too wrapped up in the design. So, just be careful about that. But you want to get a good sense of like what placement is going to be where and what, and so on. All right, and so there I've got a layout where I'm going to have some kind of like image about the owner and so on. And again, when you get to the comp mode, you can always change this stuff around. And after this, we're going to have a section about the product. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this down and, oh, do that again. Come on, help me out here. It's not helping me out at all. Alright, copy, we'll try it this way. Alright, just copied and pasted it. That was not working. I'm having, to be honest with you, this file is actually becoming a little bit buggy for me, so I apologize if it's slipping up a bit while you're watching this. And we're going to call this, let's see here, what was it? Was it going to be products, right? Okay, there we go. And, I might decide, let me add in a horizontal rule just so I can break this up a little bit. And we'll bring this down. And always think about your spacing. So now we've got the products, but we are running out of room, aren't we? So we need to extend this down. In the other video, it showed you all about repeat grid, and what's cool about that is like, here it goes, boom, it's still repeating. Makes it super easy to do that kind of stuff. And I'm going to use a repeat grid again on these products. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a box here that's going to give me my product shape. And so we're going to make this one 260 by, let's make it, we'll make it 290, make it a more of a more vertical. Actually, let's go up to 300. Great. And then again, we're going to go back to our image color, which I did not get right. Okay. All right, there we go. And I'm going to add some copy to this box. And again, as you're seeing, I do a lot of just clicking and dragging and moving elements, duplicating elements that way. Just save some time, and then you can always readjust. So we're going to give a little bit more descriptor, and then again, I think I'm going to have some kind of a headline for, or descriptor for the product. So let's do, we'll call this creatively product. This product title. If I could spell, there we go. And we need to bring this in. And what's nice, it starts snapping everywhere, which is great. It makes it super easy for us. come back to me. 'Cause- There we go. Sorry, my program's being very buggy with me tonight. Actually, not had this many problems with it before. What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna lock this. So if I go Object, Lock, it will lock this grid now. And so, okay, so here I go. I've got my product title and everything there. So I'm gonna make sure I'm aligning this right. And let's move that up a little bit tighter. Move that down. And I'm just gonna adjust this so it's not all over the place. There we go. All right, great. And let's say it's got a button, just so for the sake of making a button. We can get rid of a lot of this here. And we'll move that up. And we'll make a button. We'll make it 2 columns wide as well. So that's about 160. And no, actually, that is about 164. I take that back. Yeah, 164. Actually, I'll probably just make it 165, make it even. And then we'll make this, we'll make it a little smaller. 40. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this another color, maybe a darker color. Whoops, I picked border. That's not what I wanted. I'm going to pick the white and then I'm going to fill and make it a darker color. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a border radius to it. And if I zoom in here to see that, yeah, radius of 1, you'll see it change a little bit. 2, and then 3. And if I zoom out, I can get a sense of how the border radius actually looks. So that's a border radius of 3. This is a typical border radius for a lot of buttons now. It gets a little almost cartoony when you make it. I mean, unless you go that looks good. That's the typical like perfect round circular edges and so forth. But if you don't go that intense with it, it starts to look a little funky. It doesn't really look very clean. It looks like these are really fat on the sides. It almost looks more like a kid's site. So either go this, or I would say try to do something a little bit cleaner like that. But we're going to try to make these feel a little different, so I'm going to just make those perfect early around. I usually just set it up to 100, actually not 1,000. It'll automatically default to these circular edges. All right, great. So there's my button, and then I'm going to add a title to it. You know what? I might just repeat this right here. It is being really difficult with me tonight. All right, let's center that. Great. And we'll call this one, let's see, let's say add to cart. And this can be smaller. Let's go with 14. Bold, and we'll make it white. Okay, we'll add that there. Great. And I'm going to just group these two together. So that's grouped. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this whole object and group these together too. I'm going to click and drag so I can select everything and hit Command G, or go to Object, Group, and group it all together. Now what's awesome here is that before on any other program I'd have to go Option, duplicate, line up, duplicate, line up, but that's not the case anymore. What I can do now is select, after I get this grouped, I can now select Repeat Grid. And what's awesome is once you hit that, it turns green. And then what you can do is you can take this and start to slide it out. How awesome is that? But this does not match up perfectly. And if you remember the tutorial that you used to make this these grid marks, you can select the gutter width on these guys and actually start to increase the size of them. And let's see here. probably about 30, and I don't think the actual box size matches up perfectly with my, yeah, I made these too small, that's why that's not working. But what you can do is if I click in here and if I go to I'm just selecting one of these boxes, which is now in this repeat grid, and if I select the edge here and I move it out and I go over here, the other edges should have done the same thing. And now yep, it did. And then now I make it 30 again, and now these all match up. So I now have a repeat grid with all of my boxes, and it's a little wide. So something is not quite right. It might be actually, this might be cutting it off. That's why when you start this at the very beginning, you want to make sure that everything is matching up properly. Let's try that now. Something's off. Well, that would help if this was actually lined up with it. Well, something is wrong with my grid, and I obviously did not. That's why, again, just make sure this is correct. I'm going to go with it just for the sake of this demo, but it is not completely right because this should be butting up to there. In fact, let me just see something. Let me lock this again. No, actually, I don't want to lock that. Yeah, I think I have a column with wrong. That's incorrect. That's why that's showing up the way. Okay, well, we are going to ignore that for now. And oh, wait a second. Oh, that's why that was not pushed out. There we go. We had to solve our problem. Then here I thought I was just going to get away with pushing past it. Okay, so what happened was I actually goofed, and the repeat. This is a repeat grid too. So if I could pull that out, that's going to repeat as well. So I just goofed because I didn't have it going out the full width, which is not what it's doing. All right, so now we're in a pretty good spot. So the great thing, and let me lock this up again. All right, cool. Now if I go back to my repeat grid here and I select it, and again, now I can start to drag this down and it's going to start repeating. And again, it gives me the ability to fix these row spaces. So I'm going to click on these row spaces and make them a little bit wider. So make those 75 pixels wide. And let's just go down to we'll go down to this many rows of product. We'll say it's going to have that much on the front opening page, which is probably a lot. We could probably cut that down. Yeah, that's a bit much. Actually, maybe what we'll do is this. We'll make it one row of products. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually add some pagination to this so that the pagination is going to give us just the ability to say, okay, you can cycle through these things, and instead of us saying, hey, you're gonna show all this product, which is going to be a lot just for a home page, instead we can have the pagination, give us a visual indicator that we can go and see more products on this page. But what would be great is after we do this pagination, so let me duplicate that. I'm going to make it 10 pixels wide, and then I'm going to duplicate this and snap beautifully. I'm going to select these, group them, move them over here in the center, and then I'm going to pick one of them to make a lighter color to show which one it's at. Or actually, if I wanted to, probably better to do something like this, where I pick another one, and I could make sure that this is the one that's selected, the second one. Now, so I have a pagination, so I can click these little buttons and this thing would slide in and out. I could talk about that with my client or what have you. The other thing too that I can do is say, okay, so I've got this here, but say I'm on this section here, I don't want to like scroll all the way back up to the top. So what I want to have happen is maybe what I'll do is let's make another button. Actually, you know what we're going to do? Let's take one of these buttons so I can move through this a little faster. All right. Nope, did not paste that. Sorry, double click into it. There we go. Copy that and then paste it. So I got the shape now, and I'm going to change the size. I'm going to change the curve of the edges or the rounded corners, and I'm going to go back to that, just making it a value of 3. And let's make this bigger. We're gonna make this a bigger call to action. So let's go with 90, and then let's increase our width. And why don't we stick with the size of, say, 260. I want to place in the middle. Actually, you know what? Because it's here, let's make it line up better with our grid. 360. And what's nice is, again, you move stuff around, it does snap pretty well to the artboards and everything. So there we go. Now we've got a call to action here, and if I select my type tool, I've actually never tried this. We're going to see if it works. Oh, look at that. It does. I think it does actually work. I can actually type within the box here. So we're going to call this one see more, and we're going to center it. No, it didn't let me. I thought it would let me type within the box. I guess it doesn't. Alright, make that bolder, and we're going to make this a little bit bigger. We're going to make this, let's say 28 pixels wide. Great. And now we're going to fill it with white. Awesome. And I actually want these rounded corners to be a little bit more intense. That was a little bit better. So we'll go with 7. Alright, great. And we're going to group that together. Now I have a call to action that will take me to a product page. So here we are. We keep going down. Okay, I'm going to have to stretch those out a little bit, but let me grab this guy, and let's just make it 1280 wide. And maybe what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make it the full width now in my browser. And so I'm going to take this and that line, move them down, and it's not necessarily finding me a value. So one thing I could do is I could just take a square and measure this way, and let's just make it red so it really stands out. And then I could take that red square, bring it down here, and now what I can do is take these two guys and line them up. So now they're lined up perfectly with the bottom of that profile picture of the owner. So this is going to be my contact page, and I'm actually going to make a form down here. So let's just give ourselves a typical stuff here. We're going to go with let's just go with a standard form field. We'll make it, let's see, 450. Let's just do it 460. And the height, we'll make it 70. I'll make these like Debo boxes, which I always like personally. And it does not match up, so let's go back to making that match up a little better with our grid. There we go. I think it was what, 60? Yeah, 560. Okay. Nope, I'm off. Yeah, 558. Okay. All right. So here's my box, and now when you do form fields, you can get into okay, you gotta make a couple of decisions. One, well, if I get into doing like the field above, okay, that's really easy. So this could be, you know, that did not. Let me do that again. I can make a field above here and call this one first name. That's one way of doing it. This makes it developers love this because it makes it super easy for them to develop that there's really not much to it. It gets a little bit more tricky when you want to have it inside the form field, and then if you style the form field, that generally requires, I believe, some JavaScript. um, again, what's important here first of all is what the make this is going to be best for the client, and you just want to keep that as your focus. And make them the best you can, basically. So I generally like putting them in the actually putting them into the field itself. I think it's easier, it looks cleaner and nicer. So generally, what I'll do here too is I'll usually italicize these as a point of, this is a different type of text. I'll do or first name, or not even just like italicize them, but just at least make them feel different. And I don't intensify them. I usually make them a lighter color. Here I'm gonna keep the strokes going around. You can do things like also just get rid of the strokes, and it could be a color field instead, which is always looks good too. But now that I got that, actually, I'm gonna just delete that box and let's start just putting down. Let's just duplicate these, and we'll call this one creatively last name. And then let's do an. Oh, let's group that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we're gonna make this one email address, and then lastly, this is going to be a bigger one because this is going to be a message box. So we're going to make that bigger, and let us know what you think. And we'll leave that there. Now, I already made a really good button over here. It's a fantastic button. So let's just copy and paste that, and we'll bring that down here. And now I've got a submit button. All right, now I have a contact form. Let me unlock my grid so I can keep this going, and I'm gonna now put in my footer, and we're gonna just make this art. If I double click on this the artboard, I can then select the outside of it, and so I'm gonna move this up. Actually, I'm gonna move this a little higher, and then over here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in a footer. Okay. And usually in the footer, the logo goes down there. Yeah, hate when it does that. I'm sure if I did a paste in place or something. Yeah, it doesn't even have it yet. Give it time. It'll all be there. Alright, I'm gonna put my logo over here, and then we're just gonna keep this really simple. We'll make a, you know, copyright. So option G for copyright. I'll do 2016. The the shop site. So creative. And this can be smaller. We're going to make this pretty small. We're going to make it 12. Actually, let me move over here. I'll do it this way. There we go. Okay, great. So now that we've got that there, and keep in mind too, when you're working your wireframes, you might. I mean, I really should have like a a phone number or something in there. I mean, when I look at this contact form, I probably would want to take these, move it down a little bit more, and maybe move this down a little bit, and add in just some text to describe, like give us something to down here as a some more copy to talk about why contacting them is so important. There we go. All right, so now we've got basically a hero up here, an about section, and here's our products, and then a contact us page and a logo. And this is a pretty, this is a wireframe. I can then what I'm going to do is, and also I can label this artboard, so I'm going to call this home page. And I want to start getting into these other pages because again, these are all going to start linking over to those other sections. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, and I just hold down the Option and basically when I duplicate something, I just click Option Shift, and it will duplicate it. And the Shift basically will align it on the same line as the top part of the artboard. If I just hold on Option, I can a little bit freer to move this around, but the Shift key should snap it more. So I'm going to make that 200 pixels dimension between the two boards. And in this one, again, I can get into making an about page. I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to go with, let's make a product page. And this is why you should lock your guides. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up, and maybe what I want to have is, so I want the products to hit above the that viewport, basically that fold. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a little bit more of a splashier intro for one of my main products. So let's call this one product title, and I'm going to give it some more copy. I'll line those up, make it a little bit bigger. I'm going to duplicate this a little bit more lines. There we go. Lovely. Okay, now we're good. And then let me go grab that box, this box again. This is my product box, and I'm going to start putting that in here. And maybe I'll have this product take up some more space too. So let me make that a little bit bigger. It's a different kind of a product. So that product's going to take up that much space. I also could say, well, I want there to be a slider here. And so if that's the case, let's make a slider. But we need to add some pagination too. So we're going to copy that pagination I have over there, and then I'm going to move it up here. And we'll have it right in the center there as well. But I'd like to add some arrows to this page too. So what I'm going to do is make some arrows. And if I just draw a vertical line, you know what? I'm going to restart this because my program is really acting up. I got a signal. Okay. All right, let's try this again. So yeah, now we're actually snapping. This is working a lot better. I should have did this earlier in the demo. Sorry about that. I'm going to move this one over, and I'm going to then let's rotate it. And we'll just do a 45. Actually, sorry, another. Yeah, sorry, I want to make a 90-degree angle. Okay, and then now these two guys are a chevron. Let's group them. Now we got a good. There we go. We've got this arrow. I can then rotate it. And that is not quite matching up right. So you know what? I'm going to take this. I'm going to do it this way. Let's duplicate it and we'll go. Okay. There we go. Now we got our arrow. And we'll group that together. If it will let me group it. There we go. And we'll put that at the edge here. Duplicate this one. And we're going to rotate that actually 180. Let's line that up the way the other one is on the gray outside bar. And there we go. Now we've got some arrows and pagination. It'd probably be good to add a button to this as well, just so you had a call to action to get you, so it would add it to the cart. Okay. Now that we have that there, so we've got our top slider element, and then I'm going to delete this button down here, plus the pagination is going to go. And the rest of this page is going to be simply a product listing page. So I'm going to just move all that. I'm just going to duplicate this now. And when I get to the bottom here, there might be more pages, so I should really think about adding in some more pagination, like a numbering system to see the next page, and so on. So I could put that in there too, but I just want to give you a general sense of what a wireframe should look like. And again, this is pretty quick. I started this a little after 11, and here I am. It's 12 o'clock, and I've got essentially what your homework assignment is for DDN 350, which is a home page and another interior page, and this is going to be my products page. I am missing a cart page, which is something I should have. So all of a sudden I'm creating a shopping e-commerce site, which I wasn't really planning on doing when I started this, but here I am. All right, product. Now, this is great, but what is so awesome about this site? So you can preview this if you click on the preview button, the play button here, and now you can actually scroll through the site if you wanted to. All right, which is really cool. But I'd like to get to that other page. So what XD really shines is that there's also this thing called prototype. And if I click on prototype, now the toolbar changes. I have less to pick from. It's really just the basically just the select tool. And so now what's going to happen is I'm going to start linking pages. So what I'm going to do is simply link products and click on, so I'm going to select products and just click that arrow to the right of it. I'm going to zoom out so you can see how this links. So click on that, and then remember how we named artboards? That's really important. So let's select product. That's our target. You could do previous artboard, that would go to product too, but when you start having more artboards, it becomes a bit more of a challenge. So directly, let's go to product, and there's an ease out right now. I'm going to do easing. Ease out's fine. Actually, this part is the one I really want to change. Actually, dissolve is what I want, because dissolve will just change it right away. What I want to change is the duration. I don't want there to be like any kind of slow fade. I just want it to go immediately to this other page so it looks like a real site. So there we go. And now when I preview this and I click on products, it goes to the other page. But I have to make it go back. I have not done that part yet. So now what I'm going to do is then click on the about page. No, actually, you know what? I'm going to click the logo. The logo I'm going to make go back to this home page. And so I'm going to click on the logo. I'm going to choose the artboard. It's going to go home page. And it should save everything. So there we go. Now the logo, you can see, clicks back to this section here. So when I go press play again, products, click on the logo, it goes back. Cool. And then I have to always remember that I made this see more button here on the home page. Well, this has got a link over to the product page too. So I'm going to click on that one and then click on product as the target. And now you'll see where it actually is starting to link over there. And so now when I press play and I go to test it, I'm going to scroll down to products and then click to see more. And now I'm on the other page and go back to logo, and there I am back at the home page. So, you know, it really gives you a sense of how the function of this site is going to act. You can also show some really fancier interactive areas too. So, you know, say you clicked on this contact button, and maybe the contact button took you to a very different type of place. So what you could always do is you can, let's duplicate this artboard. I'm still in prototype mode, so I'm actually going to go back to design. And because it's a contact section, I bet you I could actually do something like this. I could get rid of a lot of this stuff on this artboard. So let's just remove all that. And actually, let's copy this. Go back. I want that. That's my grid. I'm going to lock that all down. So now I'm going to get rid of this. I already copied the contact page. That's already saved to my clipboard on my Mac. Okay, and then what's going to happen here is this is going to move down. Alright, and then I'm going to paste my contact here, and we're going to modify this a little bit so it fits into this space. But I do want to get my artboard right, so let's move this guy up, the bottom part of my artboard, and it should snap right back there. Cool. Just want to make sure it's exactly where it needs to be. Yep, right there, and then we'll move this down. Okay, so let's move around this contact section. So I'll move that over here, and so there's my copy, and I'm aware that's a widow. Unfortunately, with web, you know there's not much you can do about those things, so I will leave it there. A lot of times for comps, I do try to, you know, I will like make them look prettier. Than I know that things will butt to the next, but it's just nice not to have that conversation with your client. So I'm going to move this over here and line that up. I'm going to cut down the spacing here. For now, it's going to be a little tight, but I just want to make this work for now. Maybe we'll make that a little shorter. Nope, not that, like that, like that. And then the submit button can go. Oh, let's group those right about there. And let's just move the overall thing down a little bit. Right in the center part, and maybe move it over. Nah, let's move it back. Okay. There's my contact, and then I have a submit form here. Okay, awesome. So what was the point of that? Like, why am I showing you this? Because I'm going to now label my board contact, and let's save it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into prototype. Okay, now when I press the contact button, one thing is I got to do it on all these pages now, and this is something I hope they fix, the ability to do these on multiple pages so you don't have to constantly repeat things. Another thing they don't have either is they don't have the ability to create symbols, so multiple repeating objects on a single file. So you create one nav bar that will do the same thing on every page would be really helpful instead of having to always duplicate items. So it's there, like I said, there's some deficiencies with it. We're going to select contact page. We're going to go to the contact page. But what's going to happen is this is going to, I believe we're going to push this down. I always get this wrong. We'll see if I get it right this time. And we'll keep it at duration of 0.2 and we'll have an ease out. And let's see what happens. I press contact. Yep, perfect. Wow, I actually got it right. Goes down. Great. But we got to go back up. So now what we got to do is then select logo. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Nope. I'm sorry. There we go. We'll do logo. We'll make the logo go back to the home page. Then choose the artboard. We're going to go back to home page. And again, the settings should be saved, which is great. It makes it so much easier for us. And then we press contact. This slides down. If I click logo, this goes. Oh, nope, the wrong way. All right, that's why I got to test this. So I'm going to select logo, and actually, this is going to push up. Now, so when I click on the play button, I go contact, logo, and pushes back up. And trust me, if you don't animate much, and this is like your first time animating something, you probably will play with this for a good half hour, just doing this the whole time. And right now it's 12:10 and it's way too late for me to keep doing this. Okay, so now that was completed, and I'm happy with that. Let's go to the products page and let's click on contact. Oh no, it doesn't work. Well, that means we have to go back to the contact page and do the same thing. So here we're going to basically make sure that this goes to contact as well. I got to actually push this down because I did change it before. So now if I go to products, contact pushes down. Great. I actually should make these buttons go back to the other pages. So let's do that. And we're going to click about, and we're going to have this push up, and this is going to go to the oh, there's no about page. Never mind. We'll keep it at none. Whoops. All right. Products. We're going to choose the product page, and we're going to go push down. Let's see if that worked. So contact, go back to products. Oh, no, that was not right. Push up. All right, here we go. Products. Oh, sorry, contact. Back to products. There we go. Contact, products. Logo, back to the home page. And then now we can see the whole site. And lastly, which I recommend you all doing, and I found this to be extremely helpful when it comes to clients, is actually clicking on the play button, this little record button up here. So now what you could do is when you're in this preview mode, click the record button, and it gives you almost like a, like almost like your thumb was clicking on it. It's more like it's almost like made more for like, let's make pretend this is a smartphone. But now I can essentially slide through and I'm recording my actions right now, which is fantastic. So now I can go and click on the products page. I'm over there. I'm looking at my products, go to the contact page, there I am, and I'm just recording all my actions. And what this is great for is if you have to, like, send this to the client ahead of time, you get a sense of how the whole thing is going to work. If I click to see more, now I'm on the product section again. All right, so now I'm going to remove the recording, and I'll just label the movie. There it is. Hit save. And what's beautiful about that is there's my grid movie, and I can hit play, and there we go. Now you can see the whole thing in action. So kind of exciting, really fun. So this is actually a movie playing, and this is super helpful. And when we start designing in this will be great because it'll really feel like your sites are actually real. And that will be very exciting and great for the old portfolio to show people what the functionality will look like. So that is a brief demo of Adobe Experience Design. It's a great tool to use. It's a great application that Adobe just came out with, and it's going to keep getting better. We are going to design in it too, and they've made it again. They've made more strides with the design features on it, but let's just we'll work on the wireframes first. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I wasn't able to get to this in class the other day. However, I hope this is helpful and so on. So good luck with your projects. As you can see, it's super easy to make a wireframe. I mean, I did this one in an hour and a half for a demo. How easy is that? And good luck with your projects. Okay, guys? I'll talk to you later. Bye.